Let's start with a pop quiz. Do you remember what makes red wine red? The skins. Awesome. We learned all about how to make red wine, so let's talk about some of the most common red wines in the world. Remember, there are hundreds of grapes that can produce wine, but we're going to focus on the ones that have the highest global recognition. Cabernet Sauvignon. I bet you heard of this one before. Whether it's from Napa or Bordeaux, Australia, Chile, or South Africa, Cabernet Sauvignon is a thick-skinned red wine grape, meaning that it has a high level of tannins and therefore is typically very dark in color. It's also a high acid wine, which can help cut through that intense tannic structure. Common flavors and aromas found in Cabernet Sauvignon are black fruits like black cherry, blackberry, and black currant. We often also find herbaceous or vegetal notes such as capsicum, mint, and eucalyptus. It's very common that Cabernet Sauvignon ferments and ages in oak. And do you remember what flavors are associated with oak? Vanilla, baking spices, cedar, toast. Cabernet Sauvignon wines are always dry and can range in body from medium all the way to full-bodied. And because it's high in tannins and high in acid, it's often blended with other varieties to help balance this intense structure. Common blending partners of Cabernet Sauvignon include Merlot, which is very common in Bordeaux and in Napa, and it adds softness to the blend. Another is Syrah, also called Shiraz, a common blend in Australia that adds a bit of spicy, peppery notes to the blend. Merlot is another red wine that's typically dry and, like Cabernet Sauvignon, ranges in body from medium to full. But unlike Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot's generally a medium level of acid, medium tannins. And this is what makes it such a great blending partner with Cabernet Sauvignon. It can help bring down the total acidity and the total tannins and make the wine softer and often more approachable. Common flavors and aromas associated with Merlot include both red and black fruits. So red and black plum, red and black cherries, strawberry, blackberry, boysenberry. And like its friend Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot is also often aged in oak, adding those baking spices and smoky, toasty notes as well. Pinot Noir. This is one of my favorite red wines. It's a dry red wine that ranges from light to medium body with low to medium tannins that are typically softer and more fine-grained than you'd find in a Cabernet Sauvignon or even a Merlot. The acidity level is typically high, giving vivaciousness to those red fruit aromas and flavors commonly associated with Pinot Noir, like strawberry, raspberry, red cherry. And Pinot Noir is another wine that's often aged in oak, adding complementary notes of vanilla and toast. Unlike either Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot, most Pinot Noirs are what we call a single varietal, meaning it's not blended with any other red wine grape. There is one exception to this rule. Do you know what that is? Champagne. In fact, many champagnes are made of a blend of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. All right, I have a fun question for you. Do you know the difference between Syrah and Shiraz? None. They're the same grape. Syrah is the word used in France and many other places around the world. Shiraz, however, is more commonly used in Australia. Syrah/Shiraz can come in a variety of styles with differing aromas and flavor profiles, all of which is dependent on where the grapes are grown. For example, in the cool climate of the northern Rhone, Syrah is medium-bodied with fresh black fruits and often black pepper notes. But in the warmer region of Australia, Shiraz can be quite full-bodied with overripe, jammy black fruits and a kind of candied licorice flavor as well. One thing all styles have in common is that Syrah or Shiraz is typically a dry red wine with a medium level of acidity and a high level of tannins. It's also very common for Syrah Shiraz to be aged in oak, which will impart additional flavors of vanilla, coconut, and those baking spices. So now that you know some of the most popular red wine grapes, see if you can taste the different varieties side by side and compare the structure, tannin, acid, alcohol, and body, as well as the flavors. Write down what makes one wine distinct from the other.